in.
It's gonna be like Logan and Max. Hi. How are you?
Hey guys, I just ran the slowest 5K of my life. I just finished the Delano 4th of July 5K, and it is the first 5K I've ever had to walk in. I'm gonna give a short recap. The weather during the race was about 83 degrees with a dew point of about 73. Feels like temperature was 90. I'm pretty sure it's the hottest race I've ever done. I've definitely done a couple of mile races where it's in the upper 80s, but I don't think it was very humid those days. This race was absolutely miserable. So I did my warm-up, and I was already quite warm at the end of my warm-up. I just ran for like 10 minutes, nothing too extreme. And there was a lot of runners doing their warm-ups. There was over 600 runners in this race total. And I tried to do it obviously in the shade as much as possible, but it was 9 a.m. The race started at 9:30, and it was already mostly not very much shade to find and very warm. And then I waited in line for the porta potties, which was like 10 plus minutes in the sun, no shade. And then I hung out in the shade for like 10 minutes before the race started. And then I went and stood in the start corral for a few minutes in the sun. And I was already quite warm. My goal was to go under 21 minutes. So I was shooting for 6:45 per mile. But I thought 6:45 to 6:50 would be okay. I thought about lowering my goal based on the heat, but I figured the quicker I run, the quicker I'll get done. And it did not go that well. But I'm going to go over my mile splits and how the race went. So I was already warm at the start. I was shooting for 6:45 to 6:50. And the first mile was a 6:49. The second mile was a 7:17, which included the first time I ever walked. I didn't stop my watch, so I ran a 7:17. Ran a 7:17 with a very short walk break in that mile, and then I ran for my third mile a 7:45, so it's exactly 28 seconds slower per mile for each mile. So at least that's consistency there with the 28 seconds slower. And then my last 0.15 was at 7-minute pace. It was 3.15. That's what my watch clocked it as. And so the first mile, mostly flat, but at the end of the first mile, you do go up a fairly steep hill. I don't know about grades, but probably like that for like, not too far, maybe 100, maybe 200 yards. So at the beginning, I was following a guy for a couple minutes, and then I figured out he's going a little slower than what I want to go, so I'm going to pass him. But there was a guy and a girl right to my right, and I looked, they were 2 feet behind me, very close. And I didn't really want to cut him off, so I thought about going in front of them and passing the guy, but I figured I'll let him go. So I let him go, and then I ran with these two runners for the next mile. Probably somewhere around half a mile to 3/4 of a mile in. Probably 3/4 of a mile in, I passed both the guy and the girl, and then they passed me back just before a mile, and then I went up the hill. I was still at 6:50 pace. That was the first mile. It was 6:49, like I just said. And then you go down the hill. It's like the same grade, but way longer, probably 300, maybe 400 meters. I'd say 300 at least. I knew I had to use that downhill to my advantage. So I went down the hill fast and passed both the guy and the girl. And then you turn left, and there's quite a bit of shade. People were giving out bacon, which no one took. It smelled good if you weren't running. And then there was lots of carnival food smells, which should absolutely be banned during races. But I get it. It's the 4th of July celebration in Delano, which they have lots. It's like a fair. They have tons of people, tons of food. And it was in this stretch here, this shady stretch, flat stretch, into the wind, that I got a pretty bad side stitch, and I was trying hard not to walk. I was like, okay, if you need to slow down, but don't walk. But I knew at this point already I wasn't going to hit my goal. I wasn't going to hit sub 21s, which was my goal, but I thought maybe I could do like 21:30, but I just had to stop and walk. It was only like halfway through the race, maybe a little more, maybe almost 2 miles into the race. But I only walked for maybe 20 seconds, and then the girl that I'd passed, so there was a guy and a girl that I passed, then both on the downhill, but but at that point they were separating. The girl was falling quite a bit behind the guy. So the guy, when I stopped to walk, was ahead of me again, but the girl was a fair bit behind me already. But she passed me, and when she passed me, I figured I'll follow her, and I'm trying to run again as quick as I can. And then you get to downtown Delano, and you go a couple blocks, turn left again, go a couple blocks, and I saw my brother and sister-in-law and their family there, and I was absolutely dying. And I passed the girl probably with half a mile to go, because then you turn right onto the street you finish on. There's about half a mile to go, a little more. And on this road, they're small, but there's like up, down, and then you're done. And at this point, I was absolutely dying. I ran through at least 4 sprinklers on this run. Dumped 2 cups of water on my head, not little Dixie cups. They weren't big cups, the cups they hand out for the waters. But it was absolutely miserable. And my finishing time was 22:57. Now, everyone died in this race. So obviously that was 2 minutes slower than I'd hoped for. But I did talk to a high school kid afterwards. I sat down in the shade for a couple of minutes, and he started talking to me, and I said, "Oh, what'd you run?" And he said, "Oh, about 24." And he goes, "My PR isn't, it was 18 something from last fall." And I said, "Do you think you were in better shape last fall than you are now, or do you think it was just the heat?" And he said, "Just the heat." And I said, "So you think you would have broke 19 minutes if it was 50 out?" And he said, "Yes." So he ran like over 5 minutes slower than what he thinks he could have ran. Obviously, I can't. There's no chance at 0% that I'd run 5 minutes quicker. But the fact that I only ran 2 minutes slower than what I'd hoped, and he was over 5 minutes slower, actually not that bad. And also looking at the last year's results, so the last 2 years there's been about 500 to 550 runners in this race, and I figured based off the last 2-year results I would get somewhere around 50th to 60th place. And the years before that there was about 300 to 350 people, and I figured I'd get around 35th place maybe, so in the top 10%. And this year there was over 600 runners, and I got 52nd or 53rd place, so I was well in the top 10%. So actually I might not have done that bad compared to other people. The guy that won by over a minute, and he ran like a 15:30 or something like that, which I don't know what his PR is, or if he's a college athlete. I don't really know anything about him, but I'm like, damn, if you could run like 15:30 in this heat on this course, which in good weather conditions, I don't think the course is terrible. It's obviously not flat, but it's not terrible. But it's got to be worth at least 30 seconds over a flat. Probably at the most 30 seconds over a flat course, but the heat probably added on a couple. This guy's got to be at least like a 14:30 guy on a flat course. Maybe, I'd think even quicker, to be honest. But yeah, good race, well organized. I'm not, and I get why it's at 9:30, because there's lots of spectators on the course. And I don't mind the later start time because I'm not an early guy, but I think this race should be at like 6 a.m. or at the worst 7 a.m. Being it is July 4th. I think I would have been fine with it being at 7 a.m. because I didn't sleep well after 4:45 anyways. So I would have been up. But also, it still would have been hot as hell at 7 a.m. So like, I still probably ran like at most 30 seconds quicker probably. Because it was still like, feels like 80 at least at 7 already. I'm not sure what's next for me. There's a mile in Hopkins in 2 weeks. Maybe I'll do it, but at this point, after how hot this race was and how miserable it was, I'm thinking I might not race again until like September when it cools down. I'll still train obviously because I have to, but you can train at dusk and dawn when it's cooler out and not go as quick if it's really hot. But yeah, still a fun race. I might do it again, but if I do, I'm going to sign up like the week of, once I see the temperatures. If it's like above 80 degrees, feels like, maybe even above 75, I'm not doing it. And I also got 4th in my age group, 1 place away from getting a top 3. But the 2 guys, 2nd and 3rd place in my age group, were in the 19 minutes, so a long ways ahead of me. 22:57. The slowest 5K I've done by I think my first 5K ever was 22:40 something on. Of course, it was too long. And it was hot that day too. Not this hot, but like 80 probably feels like temperature.